Now on PBS. On the Road with host David Brancaccio.
Now let's look at the opinion polls for a second. Immigration, the economy, the war, health care. Those are all issues that Americans say will have a major influence on how they vote in November. But what about global warming? Should voters be paying more attention to the candidates' positions on climate change? And why are they not? Captain Dan Kipnis is more than a skipper of a fishing boat. He's a major player in both the National and the Florida Wildlife Federations. And most days, he's out there talking global warming with everybody, from crusty fishermen to politicians. Captain Kipnis, thanks for this.
Oh, it's my pleasure to be here, David.
Look, it's one thing to go into a food co-op where they're buying granola by the half kilo and talk about climate change, but tell me about the tougher crowds that you preach to about global warming.
The tougher crowds are the crowds I like to go talk to because they're the ones who will really make the change. The guy who's eating the granola already understands what the issue is. But you go into a coastal community, say in South Carolina, and you talk to a bunch of shrimpers there and coastal fishermen and commercial fishermen who live on that coastline their whole life, and they're very skeptical about it. But once you show them what's going to happen to them, and you take a map and show them what sea level rise could do to them, they start to get the real idea of what impacts could happen, and then they start to listen. And once these people get motivated, I think we can start moving right along, trying to mitigate this situation.
We're here in Florida. You're a Florida guy. What's going to happen to Florida?
We have major issues. Florida's ground zero for this. Much of our coastal area is within 1 to 3 feet of the ocean as it stands right now. So a 5-foot sea level rise, for instance, would inundate most of coastal Florida, and in Miami-Dade County in particular, we'd lose the whole county at 5 feet.
And what was I reading about, like drinking water as an issue here in Florida?
How about no drinking water? If you cover the Everglades, which is where our aquifer, our fresh water is, you cover it with salt water. We have no fresh water.
We've got less than 300 days until the presidential election. What do you hear the candidates saying about this issue of climate change?
I don't hear them saying anything. I mean, they all have policies on it.
Well, yeah, you can go on their websites.
You go on the website,
some
and I've been on the website because I don't hear them saying anything, David. Nothing. All right? But I go to their website, and they all say the same thing. And it's basically, by 2050, we're going to reduce our carbon to 80% of 1990 levels. But they basically don't say how they're going to do it. They don't say what their short-term plan is for doing it. This is a long-term plan by 2050. And let me tell you, the situation, we are at a tipping point. If we don't start moving now, there's no way they can do it. They can't do it.
But if you don't hear the candidates speaking loudly and often about this, which is what you're hearing, what are the chances that this is going to be the primo issue once the person comes into power?
The chances are slim to none. It's not going to be the primo issue. It's going to take a real disaster, and I don't mean a Katrina, but it's going to take a real disaster like Miami-Dade County going underwater 20 years from now. And in hindsight, we said, oh, we should have tried to do something. It will be too late then.
At a time when you don't hear the candidates talking enough about this, there are some people talking about climate change. You pick up a newspaper, you see these big fat ads from National Association of Manufacturers, for instance. And they're talking about the energy bill, which does have some conservation requirements and investment in alternative energy sources, not new taxes from Congress. And got another one over here.
Wait.
Yeah.
Not new taxes from Congress. I noticed something down here at the bottom of the sheet.
Yeah,
the people of America's oil and natural gas industry paid for this. Well, if I was them, too, I would be fighting it like crazy because they don't want to change what they're doing. They're making more money than they ever made. All the money these oil companies and coal companies are making right now will come back to haunt us because they should be spending that money, and that's what was in this bill, spending that money to find new technologies and to promote new technologies that reduce the amount of CO2 we're putting in the atmosphere, the amount of greenhouse gases we're putting there.
But here the National Association of Manufacturers and the Chamber of Commerce talk about the energy bill as layoffs, that it's a job killer.
It can't be a job killer. The energy bill, look, anything that we do to change the way we have to live is going to produce more jobs, more money, new technology. It's going to open new avenues for us.
So if the candidates don't speak out loudly and often about this issue, and a new administration comes to power that doesn't do much with global warming, what does your state, the state of Florida, look like for your grandchildren?
Well, they won't be living at my house in Miami Beach, that's for sure, because it'll be gone. And they won't be living in
underwater.
And they won't be living for my grandchildren, okay? And they will not be living in South Florida. That will be underwater also. Their life's going to be very different. I don't think it's going to be a fun place to live in because we haven't met the challenge. This is the challenge of all mankind. This is it. There's been many extinctions on this earth, many mass extinctions over millions of years. Whole populations of animals have disappeared. The earth has cleaned itself up and got back to making other species again. I'm afraid we're going to end up being one of the mass extinctions if we don't do something about this, and that would be a real shame, especially a species that's as smart as we are.
Well, Captain Kipnis, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Captain Dan Kipnis is a fisheries conservationist and a global warming activist.